The crimson sun of Kithara blazed overhead as Captain Jackson Rivers fought to keep his damaged starship from becoming space debris. Warning lights flashed like angry red eyes across his control panel while the ship shuddered violently through. The alien atmosphere. "Come on, baby," he muttered, hands dancing over controls that sparked and hissed. Just a little further, the ship had other plans. With a final defiant groan of twisted metal, it plowed into the planet's surface, carving a deep scar through purple sand and crystalline rocks. Steam rose from the wreckage as Jackson crawled from the cockpit, his flight suit torn and his dark hair matted with blood. The landscape stretched endlessly before him, alien and beautiful in its harshness. Strange trees with silver leaves whispered in the wind, and 2 moons hung in the violet sky like watchful eyes. But Jackson's appreciation for alien beauty ended when he heard the hunting calls echoing from the distant cliffs. Something was coming for him. He limped toward a cluster of jagged rocks, seeking shelter. His emergency beacon was damaged, his weapons scattered in the crash. For the first time since joining the Earth fleet, Captain Jackson Rivers felt truly alone. That's when she appeared. She moved like liquid shadow across the rocky terrain, her form both graceful and deadly. Tall and lean, with skin that seemed to shimmer between deep blue and silver, depending on the light. Her hair fell in waves of midnight black, adorned with small crystals that caught the alien sunlight. But it was her eyes that stopped Jackson's breath. Large and luminous, the color of storm clouds shot through with electricity dot. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest tight and his thoughts scatter. "Human," she said, her voice like music, played on wind chimes. The translator in his ear rendered her words, but couldn't capture the melody of her accent. "You bleed." Jackson pressed his hand to the gash on his forehead. "Nothing I can't handle." She tilted her head, studying him with those incredible eyes. "The hunters come. They smell your blood on the wind." As if summoned by her words, a bone-chilling howl echoed from the cliffs. Then another. Jackson's blood ran cold as he recognized the sound. Not quite animal, not quite machine. "What are those things?" "Death," she said simply. "Come, I show you safety." Every instinct screamed at him not to trust her. She was alien, unknown, possibly more dangerous than whatever was hunting him. But when those silver blue eyes met his, something deeper than logic made the decision. Lead the way. She moved with supernatural grace, her bare feet making no sound on the rocky ground. Jackson struggled to keep up, his injured leg protesting with each step. When he stumbled, she was there, her hand strong and warm on his arm. "You are hurt worse than you pretend," she observed. "I've had worse." A smile played at the corners of her mouth. "All humans say this, even when dying." They reached a hidden cave entrance, concealed behind a curtain of crystalline vines. Inside, the walls glowed with a soft, phosphorescent light. The air was cool and sweet, carrying the scent of alien flowers. "You'll be safe here," she said, guiding him to sit on a natural stone shelf. "The hunters cannot track through the crystal fields." Jackson watched as she moved around the cave, gathering supplies from hidden caches. Her movements were economical, purposeful, but there was something achingly lonely about the way she worked in silence. "What's your name?" he asked. She paused, a bundle of medicinal herbs in her hands. Names have power on Kithara. To know someone's true name is to hold a piece of their soul. "Then what should I call you?" She considered this, her head tilted in that endearing way. "My people called me Zira, before they cast me out." "Cast you out? Why?" Her hands stilled. "I questioned the old ways. Believed there could be peace between our kind and yours." She looked at him then, vulnerability flickering in her storm cloud eyes. "I was wrong," they said. "Humans are poison, destroyers. incapable of honor. Jackson felt something tighten in his chest. "And what do you think now?" She knelt before him, her fingers gentle as she cleaned the wound on his forehead. This close, he could see the delicate patterns of silver that traced along her skin like living tattoos. Could smell her scent, wild and clean like rain on stone. "I think," she said softly, "you have kind eyes for a destroyer." Her touch sent electricity racing through his skin. When she looked up at him, her face inches from his, the air between them seemed to shimmer with possibility. "Zira," he whispered, testing her name on his tongue. "Jackson Rivers," she replied, and he realized he'd never told her his name. "Yes, I know who you are, the peacebringer, the one who speaks for unity between worlds." "Fat lot of good it did me," he said bitterly. "My own people shot me down when I tried to land for the peace talks." Her eyes widened. "Your own people? Someone doesn't want peace, someone who profits from the war." He met her gaze. "Looks like we're both outcasts now." Something shifted between them then, a recognition that went deeper than words. Two souls adrift in a hostile universe, finding unexpected sanctuary in each other's presence. The sound of the hunters grew closer, their mechanical howls echoing off the cave walls. Zira moved to the entrance, her body tense with predatory alertness. "They circle," she said, "looking for your scent trail. Will they find us? Not here, but we cannot stay forever." She turned back to him, her expression troubled. "There is something you must know about my people, Jackson Rivers. We do not forgive easily, and we never forget." "What does that mean?" "It means that by saving you, I have marked myself as traitor. If they find us together—" She touched the silver patterns on her throat. "The penalty is death. For both of you." Jackson struggled to his feet, ignoring the pain in his leg. "Then I'll leave. I won't let you. No." The word cracked like a whip. She moved to him, her hands gripping his shoulders. "You would not survive one night alone on this world. The hunters are the least of the dangers here. Then what do you suggest?" Her eyes searched his face, and he saw the moment she made her decision. It was there in the way her chin lifted, in the sudden steel in her voice. "We run, together, to the sacred valleys where even my people fear to tread." "That sounds incredibly dangerous." "Yes." Her smile was wild and beautiful, and completely reckless. "But danger shared is often sweet." Before he could respond, she leaned in and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was electric, alien, and absolutely perfect. Her skin was warm silk beneath. His hands, her mouth tasting of starlight and promises. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she whispered against his lips, "The sacred valleys are 3 days' journey. We leave at moonrise." Jackson nodded, not trusting his voice. Whatever was happening between them, it was bigger than duty, bigger than the war that had driven them both into exile. It was the kind of connection that poets wrote about, and soldiers died for Dot as the twin moons rose over Cathara. Casting silver light through the cave entrance, Jackson Rivers made a choice that would change everything. He would follow this beautiful, dangerous alien woman into the unknown. Not because he had no other choice, but because he couldn't imagine a future without her in it. The hunters howled again in the distance. But inside the crystal cave, wrapped in Zira's arms, Jackson felt safer than he had in years. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, new challenges. But tonight, they had each other, Dot, and on a world where love between their kinds was forbidden. That was a revolution in itself. The phosphorescent walls pulsed gently around them like a heartbeat, keeping time with their whispered plans and stolen kisses. Outside, the alien night held its breath, waiting for the star-crossed lovers to make their move. The sacred valleys awaited, and with them, a destiny neither of them could imagine. The twin moons cast silver shadows across the crystalline desert as Jackson and Zyra moved like ghosts through the night. 3 days of hard travel had brought them to the edge of the sacred valleys, but their sanctuary had become a trap. "We're surrounded," Zyra whispered, her body pressed against his behind a cluster of singing stones. The crystals hummed with otherworldly music, but couldn't mask the sound of approaching footsteps. Jackson counted at least a dozen figures moving through the moonlight, their forms tall and graceful like Zyra's, but carrying the unmistakable aura of warriors. At their head strode a figure that made Zyra's breath catch. "Father," she breathed. Chief Corvin Nightwing was everything Jackson had expected and more. Tall as a tree, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that burned like twin stars. Silver markings covered his muscular frame in intricate patterns. That spoke of countless battles won. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of one born to rule. "My daughter," he said, his words cutting through the night air. "You have fallen far indeed to mate with this creature." Zyra stepped out. From their hiding place, her chin raised defiantly. "Jackson Rivers is no creature, Father. He is a man of honor." "Honor?" Corvin's laugh was like breaking glass. "He is human. They know nothing of honor." From the shadows stepped another figure, and Jackson's blood turned to ice. Hunter Blade, the most feared bounty hunter in 3 sectors, emerged with a weapon trained. On them both, his scarred face split into a cruel grin. "Hello, Rivers. Miss me?" "Blade," Jackson spat. "Should have known you'd be behind this. The price on your head was too good to pass up. Though I admit, finding you wrapped around this alien princess is an unexpected bonus." Corvin's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You dare speak of my daughter? As a prize to be won? Easy there, Chief. We both want the same thing, him gone. Let's not complicate things." But Zyra stepped between them, her body radiating deadly grace. "The only one leaving will be you, Blade. This is Kitharin soil. You have no power here." "Actually," Corvin said quietly, "he does. By ancient law, any who would claim bond with. My daughter must face the trials, should he survive." The chief's smile was sharp as a blade. "Then perhaps we have underestimated humans." Jackson felt Zyra's hand grip his arm. "Father, no. The trials haven't been attempted in 3 centuries. Death, Corvin finished. "Yes, but if this human truly loves you, daughter, he will face them willingly." Hunter Blade laughed. "This is perfect. Let the planet kill him for me?" Jackson looked at Zyra, seeing the fear in her storm cloud eyes. But beneath the fear was something else. Hope. Desperate, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, he could succeed where others had failed. "What are these trials?" he asked. Corvin studied him with new interest. 3 tests, human. Mind, body, and spirit. Most who attempt them die in the first. "Hour. And if I succeed? Then you will have proven yourself worthy of my daughter's bond. You will be accepted as one of our people." The chief's expression grew grave. "But know this, there can be no half measures. To fail is to die. To refuse is to be cast out into the wasteland with nothing but the clothes on your back." Jackson felt Zyra's fingers intertwine with his. Her skin was warm, electric with the connection that had grown between them over their days together. In her touch, he found his answer. "I accept." The trials began at dawn in the ancient amphitheater carved from living rock. Hundreds of Zyra's people gathered to witness what they believed would be Jackson's death. Only Zyra stood apart, her face pale but her eyes blazing with fierce pride. The first trial was the test of mind, a labyrinth of illusions designed to break the spirit of any who entered. Jackson found himself lost in a maze of mirrors that showed his greatest fears and failures. Images of Earth burning, of Zyra dying in his arms, of everyone he'd ever failed to save. But through it all, he held on to one truth, the feeling of her. Lips against his, the sound of her laughter, the way she'd looked at him when she'd chosen to save his life. That connection became his anchor, guiding him through the maze until he emerged victorious. The second trial nearly killed him. The test of body pit him against the Valley Guardian, a creature of crystal and flame that stood 3 times his height. With only his wits and a ceremonial blade, Jackson danced with death for what felt like hours. The creature's claws raked across his chest, leaving burning furrows in his flesh. Its roar shattered stone and made his ears bleed. But Jackson had learned something about survival during his time with Zyra sometimes. The only way through hell was to embrace the fire. When he finally drove the blade between the creature's crystal plates, finding the one vulnerable spot that meant victory, the assembled crowd fell silent. No human had ever passed the second trial, but it was the third trial that truly tested him. The test of spirit required him to link his mind with the ancient consciousness of Kithara itself, to open his thoughts and memories to a planet-wide entity that could judge his worthiness as the connection formed. Jackson felt his mind expanding, touching something vast and alien and incredibly old. The planet spirit sifted through his memories like sand through fingers, examining every choice he'd ever made, every moment of courage or cowardice, every act of love or selfishness. Why do you seek bond with the daughter of Nightwing? The voice spoke directly into his soul. Because I love her, Jackson replied without hesitation. Because she makes me want to be better than I am. Because without her, I'm just another lost soul in an endless universe. Love is not enough, young human. What? Would you sacrifice for her? Images flashed through his mind. His career, his planet, his very life. Everything. I would give everything to keep her safe. And what would you give to make peace between your peoples? The same. Everything. The presence in his mind seemed to smile. Then you understand the true nature of sacrifice. You understand that some bonds transcend species, transcend worlds. You are worthy, Jackson Rivers of Earth. When the connection ended, Jackson collapsed to his knees, blood streaming from his nose and ears. But he was alive. He had passed all 3 trials. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, Chief Corvin stepped forward. His expression was unreadable as he looked down at the battered human who had achieved the impossible. Rise, Jackson Rivers, he said formally. By right of trial, by judgment of the ancestors, you are now bound to my daughter as mate and equal. You are Kitharin. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some protested, but all understood that history had been made. As Jackson struggled to his feet, Zyra broke from the crowd and ran to him, her tears falling like starlight on his wounded chest. You magnificent fool, she whispered, her hands gentle on his face. You could have died. But I didn't, he said, pulling her close. And now nothing can separate us. That's when Hunter Blade made his move. The bounty hunter had waited for this moment, when everyone's attention was on the reunion. His weapon hummed to life, aimed straight at Jackson's heart. Touching, he sneered. Too bad it ends here. But he'd underestimated Zyra. Moving faster than thought, she spun and hurled her ceremonial blade with deadly precision. It took Blade in the throat, dropping him instantly. The trials are sacred, she said coldly to his corpse. To interfere is to forfeit all rights to mercy. As the sun set over the sacred valley, painting the crystal formations in shades of gold and crimson, Jackson and Zyra stood together before her people. They had faced death and emerged victorious. They had proven that love could indeed transcend the boundaries of species and worlds, but their greatest test still lay ahead. The sacred bonding temple rose from the heart of the crystal valley like a dream made manifest. Its walls were carved from a single massive geode, the interior surfaces lined with crystals that captured and amplified every whisper of sound, every flutter of emotion. As Jackson and Zara approached the ancient structure, the very air seemed to shimmer with anticipation. "Are you certain about this?" Zara asked, her fingers intertwined with his. "Once the bonding ritual begins, there can be no separation. Our souls will be linked for all time." Jackson squeezed her hand, feeling the familiar electric tingle of her touch. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." The past week had been a whirlwind of preparation and politics. News of the successful trials had spread across Kithara like wildfire, dividing the population between those who saw Jackson's victory as a sign of hope and those who viewed it as an abomination. Chief Corvin had done his best to maintain order, but tensions ran high. Now, as they entered the temple for the bonding ceremony, Jackson could feel the weight of history pressing down on them. They weren't just two beings in love. They were symbols of a possible future where humans and Kitharans could coexist in harmony. Elder Vera waited for them at the altar, her ancient frame draped in robes that seemed woven from starlight itself. She was the oldest of the Kitharan priestesses, her skin marked with silver patterns so intricate they seemed to shift and flow in the crystal light. "Welcome, children," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Today, we witness something that has never been attempted, the bonding of two souls from different worlds. Are you prepared to become one spirit in two bodies?" "We are," they replied in unison. The ceremony began with the ritual of memories, where both participants shared their most treasured experiences with the gathered witnesses. Through the temple's crystal resonance, everyone present could feel echoes of Jackson's childhood on Earth, the smell of rain on concrete, the warmth of his mother's embrace, the first time he'd looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. In return, they experienced Zara's memories of Kithara, the song of the crystal forests, the joy of her first hunt, the crushing loneliness of her exile. As the memories mingled and merged, tears flowed freely among the assembled crowd. Next came the trial of truth, where both lovers had to speak their deepest fears and greatest hopes while touching the Heartstone, a massive crystal that made deception impossible. "I fear," Jackson said, his voice echoing through the temple, "that my love for Zara will not be enough to bridge the gap between our peoples. I fear that our children will be outcasts, belonging fully to neither world." Zara's voice joined his, equally clear and honest. "I fear that in loving a human, I have betrayed everything my people hold sacred. I fear that our bond will bring destruction rather than healing." Elder Vera nodded solemnly. "Truth shared is truth divided. Your fears prove your wisdom, young ones. Now speak your hopes." Jackson's voice grew stronger. "I hope that our love will be the first step toward lasting peace. I hope that our children will be bridges between worlds, carrying the best of both peoples within their hearts. I hope," Zara added, "that love truly can conquer all differences. I hope that what we build together will last for generations to come." A Heartstone pulsed with warm light, accepting their words as truth. But before Elder Vera could continue the ceremony, the temple doors burst open. A group of Kitharan warriors stormed in, led by Commander Thane, Corvin's own brother, and one of the most vocal opponents of human Kitharan unity. His scarred face was twisted with rage as he pointed an accusatory finger at the altar. "This obscenity ends now," he roared. "I will not stand by and watch our bloodline polluted by alien spawn." Behind him came others, traditionalists who had never accepted Jackson's victory in the trials. But they weren't alone. To Jackson's shock, a squad of human Marines in full combat armor followed them into the temple, their weapons trained on the assembled Kitharans. "Captain Rivers," called their leader, removing his helmet to reveal the face of Colonel Marcus Stone, Jackson's former commanding officer. "By order of Earth Fleet Command, you are under arrest for treason and desertion." "Marcus," Jackson said, stepping protectively in front of Zira. I should have known you were behind the attack on my ship. Stone's smile was cold as winter. Nothing personal, Jocks, but your peace mission was interfering with some very profitable contracts. War is good for business, you know. Chief Corvin stepped forward, his massive frame radiating barely controlled fury. You dare bring weapons into our most sacred space? Easy there, Chief, Stone replied. We just want Rivers. Hand him over, and we'll leave quietly. Never, Zira snarled, her form shifting into a predatory crouch. He is my bonded mate. To harm him is to declare war on all our people. Commander Thane laughed harshly. War? With humans? Perhaps it's time we finished what should have been done years ago. The temple erupted into chaos. Kithrin warriors faced off against human marines, while civilians scattered for cover. In the midst of the mayhem, Elder Vera's voice rang out, like a bell, amplified by the crystal walls. Enough! The single word carried such power that everyone froze. The ancient priestess stepped forward, her frail appearance belied by the raw authority in her voice. This is a sacred place, she said, her eyes blazing with inner fire. Here, violence is forbidden. Here, truth reigns supreme. She turned to address both groups. You speak of war, of hatred, of the impossibility of unity. But look around you. See what has already been accomplished. She gestured toward Jackson and Zira, who stood hand in hand despite the weapons trained on them. These two have faced every trial, overcome every obstacle. They have proven that love transcends species, that understanding conquers fear. Will you destroy that hope for the sake of your pride? Colonel Stone raised his weapon. Spare me, V. Philosophy, old woman. I'm taking Rivers back to face justice. That's when Jackson made his choice. He stepped forward, placing himself between the guns and his beloved. You want me? He said calmly. Then take me. But know this, what we've started here can't be stopped by bullets or bombs. You can kill me, but you can't kill the idea that humans and Kithrins can live in peace. Jackson, no! Zira cried, reaching for him. But before anyone could move, Chief Corvin's voice boomed through the temple. Wait! The massive Kithrin leader stepped forward, his presence commanding attention from both sides. Human Colonel, you came here seeking one man. But what if I offered you something better? Stone's eyes narrowed suspiciously. What are you talking about? Trade, Corvin said simply. Not war, but commerce. Kithara has resources your people need. Rare crystals, energy sources, technologies beyond your current understanding. Why destroy what could be profitable? For the first time, Stone looked uncertain. Jackson could practically see the calculations running through his mind, the potential profits versus the costs of continued conflict. Commander, Thane snarled his disgust. Brother, you cannot seriously consider. I consider what is best for our people. Corvin cut him off. War brings only death. Trade brings prosperity. Elder Vera stepped forward, her ancient wisdom adding weight to the chief's words. Let this bonding be the symbol of a new beginning. Two peoples, united not in conquest, but in mutual respect. The moment stretched taut as a bowstring. Then, slowly, Colonel Stone lowered his weapon. I'll need guarantees, he said. Treaties, trade agreements. And Rivers still has to answer for his actions. I'll answer for them, Jackson said firmly, but as an ambassador, not a prisoner. If this union is to work, it needs to be built on equality, not dominance. Zira moved to stand beside him, her hand finding his. Two peoples, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the temple. One future. Elder Vera smiled, her ancient face radiant with joy. Then let us complete what we came here to do. The bonding ceremony resumed, but now it carried greater weight than anyone could have imagined. As Jackson and Zira spoke their vows, their words became the foundation of something larger, a bridge between worlds, a promise of peace. When their souls finally merged in the crystal light, every being in the temple felt it, human and Kithaerin. Alike, it was a connection that transcended physical form, a unity that spoke to something deep and primal in all sentient life. By crystal and starlight, Elder Vera intoned, by ancient law and sacred trust, I pronounce you bonded for all time. May your love light the way for generations to come. As Jackson and Zira kissed, sealing their union, the temple walls sang with harmonic resonance. Outside, the twin moons of Kithaeris seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating this unprecedented moment. 6 months later, the first joint human Kithaerin colony was established in the sacred valleys. Trade agreements flourished, bringing prosperity to both worlds. And in the crystal temple where it all began, a small child with her mother's storm-cloud eyes and her father's gentle smile took her first steps. The age of unity had begun, built on the foundation of two hearts that dared to love across the stars. In a universe often defined by conflict and division, Jackson and Zira had proven that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply to love without limits. Their story became legend, passed down through generations as proof that no barrier is too great when souls recognize their perfect match. And in the singing crystals of Kithaeris, their love song echoes still, an eternal reminder that the best futures are built not on conquest, but on connection. The end.